for being here. Okay, so you can just hit the little thing that says got it. We are using this recording simply for, there are several of our members who were not able to make one of the live Zoom sessions tonight or tomorrow night. And so this is gonna be available, or if you feel like you missed something, I can talk a little bit fast sometimes. You can watch this again, you know, to brush up before the event. So everyone will have done the mandated state Department of Elections voter registration training and sign the affidavit. When you sign the affidavit, please, you can list the organization you're with at the League of Women Voters Fairfax. However, please do not ask them to send you 200 voter registration forms. We are really well stocked with voter registration forms. We don't need any more. So that will save you a little bit of trouble there. So as I said, our library partners have been just incredibly gracious and helpful. And obviously 21 branches is a lot to coordinate. We have a contact who is helping us get this set up. But I can't promise you exactly where they will have it set up. They will have a table and chairs, at least 2 chairs, at every single library. And when you go there, we want you to feel very comfortable with what's happening. We're going to set up as often as possible in an area where it wasn't going to be too densely crowded, hopefully in a lobby or an atrium where there's lots of room and you can do social distancing. Your safety is, you know, our biggest priority. We want everyone to feel comfortable. I'm assuming, as a former physician, a retired physician, that everyone here has been vaccinated, probably twice, sometimes 3 times. You know, that obviously is your number one source of safety. If you're going to be doing any kind of public facing events, we will be indoors. We are not going to be outdoors for this, which is good because the weather's obviously a little iffy. It is necessary, anybody in a Fairfax County building, library or other building, has to be masked. So you will be wearing a mask, and anybody that you are talking to will be wearing a mask. And if anyone starts talking to you and they're not wearing a mask or they're not wearing it appropriately, feel free to tell them that this is not a safe situation, you're not comfortable, and they have to wear a mask appropriately, or, you know, they have to just move along. So again, your safety is our number one priority. So there are 2 teams from 12 to 2, and then a second team from 2 to 4. Some people have been kind and signed up for the whole 4 hours at one library. When you get there, you will have this nifty little bag. You notice that the color is in suffragist purple, which matches my League of Women Voters Fairfax area shirt. If you have the shirt, please wear one. If you have any other, you know, league gear, please wear it. But the bag will identify you as League of Women Voters. Introduce yourself to the library manager. Tell them that they will be expecting you. Inside of this bag, there is going to be pretty much everything you need in order to make this a successful event. And one of the things that we ask, if you don't have a shirt or something else that indicates, if you have a pin from the league, please wear that. Inside the bag, there's going to be a little baggie of goodies. It will have pens. It will have National Voter Registration Day stickers that you can give to anybody that you talk to or you get registered or fills out a form. That will be in there, but there's also these handy dandy little stickers that you can put on your clothes that identify you as a league voter, because we want people to know who we are and what we're doing. Once you get to the table, also in the bag will be a nice bright red plastic tablecloth. Those were the ones they had for sale. So that will be provided. We don't have a lot of decorations for your tables. If you have something you want to bring, bunting or something like that from prior events, feel free. But we didn't want to overburden this bag because these bags are not really made to last for too long. We want you not only to identify yourself personally as being from the league, but we want people to be able to recognize, why are these women and men, or equal opportunity here, standing here or sitting here in the library, and what are they doing? Well, every single library has a lovely poster from National Voter Registration Day. They have been hanging them for the last week or so. Ask your branch manager to please give you that poster, and you can tape that onto the tablecloth, and it says National Voter Registration Day. You will all each have one of these signs. Pretty large, register to vote here. They're pretty thick, so they'll stand up. And the one thing we didn't put in your baggies because of just the logistics, 21 libraries, is tape. The library managers have promised to make tape available to you. So just put it on your table so people recognize, oh, National Voter Registration Day, it says register to vote, very clear, very legible, so people will know what you're doing. My suggestion and request to everyone who's doing an event is when you start out, and you can wear patriotic colors, red, white, and blue is always nice. You can wear the League shirt. But I start every conversation when someone comes up and says hi, or they're walking by, you say, hi, we're with the League of Women Voters. We're a nonpartisan organization, and we are here to help with any questions you have about registering to vote, voting by mail, election information. But I just get the League of Women Voters and nonpartisan out in the first few seconds. So they understand. A lot of people are getting approached by a lot of different organizations. Being able to say that right out front makes it much more likely that people will actually stop and listen to what you say. I suggest you do that first thing when you are starting a conversation. Now, in our area, most people, a great majority, are already registered to vote. And so people may just say, oh, I'm already registered, I'm fine, I know what I need. It's like, so that's not the only reason we're there. We're there to remind people that if they are registered to vote, they need to make sure the registration is updated. Have you moved since the last time you voted? Because then you need to update your registration. We can help you with that. If they are still not interested, you can say, well, there's a lot of options for voting this year. Do you know where your early voting location sites are? And so we have put into your bags information that you can put out on the tabletop, and you can offer these to people as they're going by if they don't necessarily need to register to vote. I always call what we do, it's voter registration and information, because that's what we want to do. We want to make sure people have accurate information about voting available to them. So we got a lot of flyers in that bag, and let me go through some of them now. And I'm not a Zoom wizard, so I don't have a share screen thing to show you that, and it would take a lot more time, so I'm just going to hold them up, and I apologize. Hopefully all of you will have gone to speaker view on your screen so that you can see me well enough and you can see what I'm holding up. So this flyer, which has got a blue border around it, we call it a quick reference guide. This was developed by the Voter Services team. It's the second year we've handed this out. This is a great one-piece point of information for who's eligible to vote, how to register to vote. If they don't want to stop and do it with you, people can register online. It's actually quite easy to register online, as long as they have a Virginia driver's license or a Virginia DMV issued identification, not necessarily a driver's license, but a DMV issued identification. They can register online. You hand them this little sheet that looks like that, and they'll be able to do that. It will tell them how to get a vote by mail application. We actually will have those available to hand out. It will tell them about the dates for the early voting sites. And it will tell them where the early voting sites are in different jurisdictions. Most people will be using, the libraries will be in Fairfax County, and that jurisdiction is listed on there. This, by the way, is a bilingual flyer. It's Spanish on the back, which is the dominant second language that we have in the county. Some areas, I know there are other languages, but this is the one that we thought was most useful. So if you have someone who doesn't speak English and you think they're Latino, Latina, and they're Spanish fluent, please offer them this. So there will be a bunch of those in your bag. This is probably the single most important piece of information that people right now might be interested in, which is early voting locations. Let me just review this for all of you so you will be comfortable with this information. Early voting, as you're probably aware, has started in Fairfax County, started last Friday. And there are right now from now until October 30th, there are 3 sites in the county where people can vote early. One is Fairfax County Government Center, way the heck out in the far west part of the county, but not super convenient for a lot of people. So we're very fortunate. The electoral board agreed that we needed to do a better job of making voting accessible, early voting accessible. So there's a location, the North County Government Center in Reston, and Mount Vernon Government Center in that area, Mount Vernon, the south part of the county. So right now, there are 3 sites that are open at least 5 days a week where people can go and vote early. What I'm showing you right now, a yellow piece of paper, it says November 2nd at the very top. This is actually from the Fairfax County Board of Elections, their elections office. And it's their information. We were distributing it because it was really handy. It has all the dates, the locations, and the hours. On the back side, I mentioned the 3 sites that are open now. On the back are these 13 additional sites that will be open starting on October 21st. From October 21st through October 30th, there is a 10-day period of time where there will be 16 sites in Fairfax County where people can vote early. That's a lot. And it's great because it means that people, who can't go to vote on November 2nd or choose not to, have lots of options. And it's important for us as, we're basically trying to provide this information for you to be aware of it. My suggestion is familiarize yourself with what's the early voting location when that October 21 intense period of early voting starts, as closest to your library. Because if you're not like me, I'm going to be working at Sherwood Hall Library. It's right across the street from the Mount Vernon Government Center. And people say, oh, voting started? Well, you'd have to be blind not to know that because there are about 1 million vote signs in front of the Mount Vernon Government Center. But some people just really aren't included in yet. And if you don't live in a place where there's an early voting site open now, you want to be able to say, well, starting on October 21st, your closest location is, and you can give them that. That's on this handy little blue, yellow piece of paper. And we have several of these to give out. It's such an important piece of information. I don't know how popular they'll be. We kind of try to put out as many of these flyers into everybody's bag as possible, but make a note of it for yourself and keep one at the desk, at the table where you're working. So if you run out of them, you can still answer people's questions about it. Also on here, and good to know, is that Fairfax County is spelled out, COUNTY.gov/elections is a really easy place for people to look it up. So if people have questions or you run out of these flyers, you can just tell them, you can go to the county, fairfaxcounty.gov/elections. That's there. So that's a handy piece of information. We all have lots of those. The crown jewel in our league publications that's available throughout the county is our Facts for Voters. We have Maggie Luca, who's on this call tonight. And Maggie is, the queen of the Facts for Voters. She helps develop, gets them out to people. She's making a face right now, but you didn't think I wasn't going to give you a shout out, right, Maggie? But this really is, I have handed out hundreds, if not thousands of these so far already this year. These are hugely popular. People actually see them in your hand. They go, oh, I need one of those, because they know. If you've lived in Fairfax for a while, you know. And this has all kinds of election information in it. It's accurate, it's up to date. It's also got contact information for everyone. And the line I use when I show people this is, if you live in Fairfax County, you want one of these, because yes, you can find things on the county website, but you can find it much faster here. And this has everyone from President Biden to the dog catcher in the county in it. And it is true, animal control is listed in here, so that's not a fib, it's really here. We have 10 of those in every pack. If you run out, there are more at the library, or there should be. But feel free to hand these out. They're done every year, so by the end of the year, they're not gonna be any good anymore. We're gonna have new ones, so give them away, like chocolates. They're very handy. So that's a good piece of information. You will have people who are just walking by, blowing by, they don't have time to talk. Offer them one of these. These are Vote 411 cards. We have some in English, some in Spanish. in all of your bags. And this is kind of the quick and dirty. It's got the websites, the state website, and the league's own, the National League's organization's clearinghouse website for information, vote411.org, another website that you should have at the tip of your tongue. Just tell people, go to vote411.org. And those websites are listed on these cards, again, English and Spanish. And if they don't have time to do it, I'm busy, I got to run, just hand them one of these, and this will get the information get them the information they need. The Vote 411 website, by the way, for those of you who don't know, is basically it is a league site, but you put in your address or your state, and it will connect them directly to the Virginia Department of Elections website. So if people say, well, I need to update, I really don't have time now, they can go to Vote 411. It'll put them directly into the Virginia Department of Elections website, which is elections.virginia.gov. But this is a quick, handy thing to hand out. Feel free to use these widely. Another quick, we're really materials intense. We're a literate bunch, and so we believe you give people information and they'll be able to do what they need. Here is a flyer. It's in all of your bags. Again, it's bilingual, English and in Spanish. And this was developed for us by one of our volunteers, Maggie Sheehan. It's a very nice little design. And just so if, people don't know who we're voting for, what we're voting for this year. Well, it's on here in a handy dandy little format. And again, at the bottom, there's all the websites and the connections that they might need. So this is another good thing to give out. Again, we do have it in 2 languages. And it's got important deadlines on it as well. And almost last, I know you're probably thinking, what are they doing here? There's so much information. Well, we have these great materials, and each of them is appropriate for a slightly different situation. So we want to make sure you had everything you would need. So here is another, and I apologize because it's the second yellow flyer, and that can be confusing. The other one was just a card. This is a 4-page flyer. This is developed by our former president, Nancy Rudberg, and this is called Know Before You Go. And if people want more information about, okay, so what does the governor do? What does the lieutenant governor? A lot of people are like, what's a lieutenant governor do? Is that just a holding place for, future office? This is spelled out in much greater detail. This is an information dense, I would say, flyer. It's got lots of stuff on it. It's got all the important connections where people can go, Fairfax County Department of Elections, as well as the state elections. So this is for your more interested person who wants a little bit more detail. In the bag, feel free to use them. And lastly, because there are going to be people who come up and really just want to argue or challenge. And sad to say, voter registration has become viewed as a suspicious activity by some. People suspect that we're trying to register people who aren't qualified. Clearly not the case. We're very careful to be sure that we go through all the questions about qualifications before people submit their voter registration form. But because there is a lot of misinformation out in the community about whether or not elections are secure in Fairfax County and in Virginia, we have this piece of information, this lovely flyer. And this was developed by Sydney Johnson, who is on our call this evening. This was done in conjunction with the State League of Women Voters, Virginia Virginia League of Women Voters. And this is like a point-by-point refutation of some of the most common myths and misconceptions about voting in the state. And when people say, well, it's all fraud and they're stuffing ballot boxes and, dead people are voting, this is a great thing to hand. Don't engage with people who are just trying to start a fight. It's not worth it. I don't need to remind this group that we are strictly nonpartisan. You cannot wear anything that indicates a party preference or anything like that. But we are speaking up for the truth and fact. And what's really wonderful about this, if people say, oh, that's, you guys are just a bunch of liberals, At the bottom of this, Sydney very helpfully pointed out that the information that she used to develop this came from a very conservative organization, the Heritage Foundation. So again, feel free to use this. Don't argue with people. Just say, here, you might find this interesting. This has got some useful information on it. So that is largely what we have in the bag. You will occasionally, okay, Sydney, I see you're raising your hand. Can we just hold, you're on mute, but can you hold off and we will, I promise we'll give you a moment to speak to that when I'm done. But I just want to get through all of this information just now, and then I promise we'll get back to you. I was recently at an event last week, and I had a couple of really nice conversations with people who were like, it's so great you guys are doing this. Thank you so much. It's really a civic service. I said, well, you know, we're always looking for new members. And if you're at all interested, you can go to our website, lwv-fairfax.org. You should all know that one too. And we have put a couple of these in your bag, which is someone who really expresses interest or says, geez, I'd love to help with this. This is really great you're doing this. Encourage them to become a member. We can always use more members, and we can always use more volunteers, so don't say no. Please pass this along. If you run out of these, that's great. It means you're doing a good job of recruiting more interest, but also feel free to mention, go to our website. It's lwv-fairfax.org and say, you can become a member. You can do this too. It's really great to be able to do nonpartisan civic involvement, and this is a great way to do that. So those are all of the flyers. I know it's a lot. Take your time. If it's quiet in the library, you can actually sit and read some of these things, and you can become familiar with them. But we'd rather you had materials that, you know, might be useful than find yourself short. So as I said, most people in Fairfax County are likely to be registered to vote already. You will have some who just moved into the area. My favorite thing is you get someone who's just turning 18 or will be 18 by November 2nd, and they don't know that you can just register right now. So we have given you, of course, a bunch of voter registration forms. Every bag will have a clipboard, and in your clipboard, or on your clipboard, there's going to be, okay, League of Women Voters, National Voter Registration Day tally. So that's the first thing on there, and it's because I did not want you to miss it, okay? We really do need it. It helps us tremendously. If you can please track about the number of people that you're talking to, how many flyers you're giving out, and we don't need an exact number. Give us a rough idea, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. If you're really aggressive, you can give out 50 flyers in an hour. But what we really definitely need to know is how many voter registration forms did you hand out and collect? We also would like you to tally how many vote by mail applications you have collected. Okay, and I will discuss how we're going to handle those, because that's the most important part of this entire training. But please, there's room here for your name, you know, the name of the library and all. Just every time you talk to a voter, just make a little check mark on it, and you can tally it up afterwards. There's room here for both shifts. So first shift fills out the first line, second shift does the second line. There's room for comments at the bottom. If there were materials you wish you had and we didn't give you enough, tell us. If there are things that were particularly helpful, tell us. It really will help us for next year's program. So, okay, you found that miraculous rare voter in Fairfax County that is not actively registered or actually wants to stop and do a change of voter registration form with you now. If you have moved since the last election, unless you're going to go back to your previous point of residence to vote, you have to change your vote, update your voter registration form. Now, so let's just leave it at that. So we have the paper forms already helpfully pre-highlighted for you with all the critical information that must be filled out. And a shout out to the high school voter registration team, President Pat Faggy, and the rest of our helpers, because a lot of these were done by them. But we have adopted the same technique. And so I would just like to remind you that the stuff that's highlighted in yellow is stuff that really should be information that should be filled out. And your job is to review it. If someone leaves this with you, is to review it and make sure it's filled out completely before they leave. So I will mention that gender it's highlighted, but it's not a significant problem if it's left blank. And whatever gender people self-identify is what they can use. Name, the biggest issue with names, people not filling out the middle name or just putting an initial or leaving it blank. If they leave it blank, you say, oh, you have no middle name, then they have to check the little box that says none. The residence means where they live, where they sleep at night. Now, occasionally in a library situation, you may have someone who's homeless. And if they want to do this, this is great. Obviously, everyone who's qualified as a citizen, has not had their rights revoked for whatever reason, and is going to be 18 by November 2nd, can register to vote. We definitely want everyone to be able to. If someone doesn't have a normal point of residence, they should just list a street corner that's close to where they sleep at night. So, there are people sleeping on the park benches, give the name of the park. If they do that, then they should list a some kind of mailing address, because there has to be a way for them to get the materials. If you find yourself in that unusual circumstance, my suggestion is pick up the phone, call the registrar, and say, hey, I've got somebody here, just walk me through what I need to do here. But the residence has to be where they sleep at night. If they have been convicted of a felony and have not had their rights restored, there's a section for that, make sure that's filled out. I'm gonna give you a website, write it down and remember it, burn this into your memory. Because we've now had several conversations over the course of the last several weeks with people who were previously incarcerated, who are returning citizens, and they don't know what their status is about rights restoration. It's becoming, the law changes recently have made it a much simpler process, but people still have to apply to have their rights restored. It's easy. Restore.virginia.gov. And Virginia is spelt out, it's not VA. So restore.virginia.gov. If you have someone, and like I said, it's happened now several times in the last few weeks. And we are working on getting a flyer for that circumstance. We don't have that available yet because the law has changed. We need to update it. But just, it's really handy to be able to give people that information. I wish I had more for that, but I just wanted you to be aware of that. And then they make sure they sign it, make sure they give that day's date. When you have taken this form, it's got their social security number on it. This is, a very sensitive document. People are entrusting us with this. We are legally, as well as, morally obligated to protect this very carefully. Every bag has a folder, a manila folder, and on it you will see it says completed Virginia voter registration form. Carefully put this in there. This folder should remain within your sight on the table at all times, so you know exactly where it is. Do not lose track of this. This is like, once you get these in your hand, this should be burning a hole directly through your soul until it's safely handled. So put it away safely. Don't fill out this front sheet until after the event is over, because the front sheet is going to list all the voter registration forms in alphabetical order. So don't fill it out at the end. Last person standing is going to fill this out in alphabetical order. And then we'll discuss in a minute what we're going to do with that. Well, let's discuss that now. After the 2 shifts, so the second shift, one person has to take responsibility for this. And those who are able to should take this themselves, not losing sight of it, and go to the Fairfax County Government Center and submit it to the registrars. It's up on the 3rd floor. The address is actually on here. And there is instructions at the bottom of the sheet of exactly what you need to do with this. If the last shift, one of those folks there is unable to do that within a couple of days, you're going to contact me. My email and phone number is on everything you get from me, and I will be after you, asking you what happened to your completed voter registration forms, and I will collect them from you. We'll work it out. But our goal is to have every one of our collected voter registration forms from this event be submitted by the Friday after. The event's Tuesday, we have Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. And I will make sure that Friday afternoon, before the office closes at 4:30, I'm going to try to make sure we have them all in. Legally, we have 10 days to do it. We're going to try to do better. We'll do the best we can. But I just wanted to emphasize, this is really critically important. The most important thing is keep these within your protection, keep them safe, don't let them get lost. You have a legal obligation. That's what that affidavit that you sign after you do the training is saying. You're legally obligated to do that. Now, now that we've discussed that, on your clipboard, in addition to the tally sheet and the voter registration forms, by the way, we have given you some voter registration forms in Spanish as well, also highlighted. So that hopefully will help with that. There's a little baggie, and those of you who've done league events before will know, in this baggie is voter registration receipts. Do not detach the ones on the state forms because it messes up the machines. It's just not a nice even tear. So they're pre-printed voter registration receipts. Someone gives you a form, you check it over, you take it, you give them the little receipt with the date filled out on it. That tells them that the League of Women Voters of the Fairfax area are the ones who are responsible for getting their voter registration form in. Then you can tell them that they should be hearing from the registrar usually within, it used to be like 10 days, but with the mails being what they are, it might be a little longer. And you can also give them one of those little stickers that says, you know, National Voter Registration Day, they're registered. Okay, so that's that process. By the way, if someone says, well, am I going to be able to vote in this election? Yes, they can. If they haven't gotten the little card from the Fairfax County registrar saying, you know, here's your precinct, you're registered to vote in the county, what they can do is they can go to that elections.virginia.gov, the citizen portal on the website, and it will tell them that they're actually registered to vote. Should that come up, I don't think that'll be an issue. And remember, people who have moved within the county, they have a different address, they should fill out the forms and they will get registered in the correct address. So it is important to do that. That's probably the majority of what we're doing these days, is doing change of address. Okay, so they have their receipt, they have their sticker, they're happy. The other thing that can go in your little manila, guard it with your life holder, we have Virginia, the new Virginia absentee ballot applications. In the state of Virginia, if you want a mail-in ballot, which is one of the three ways you can vote by mail, you can vote early in person, already going on now, or you can vote on November 2nd at your local precinct. But if you want to get a mail-in ballot, you have to fill in the application. Again, that can be done online, but we also have these forms. These should also be at the library, but we put some in your package. The forms are different this year because there is everything that's highlighted in blue is important, including a signature at the bottom. It's kind of like the voter registration form, but it's pre-highlighted for you. But new this year is people can check a box that says, do you want to vote by mail for all future elections? And there's a box that's checked. And that will allow them to be on the permanent mail-in ballot application process, so they don't have to ask every single year. This is a new thing this year. And there's a little bit of confusion about it. So I'm just pointing out that the ones we put in your bag are the new forms, and these are up to date, and people can choose to permanently be mail-in ballot. If they only want to do a mail ballot this year because of COVID, then they can, it's all self-explained, and you can go over this with them. You can tell them they can take the form and mail it in if they want, or because we're going to the registrars anyway, you can actually put this into the little manila envelope, the completed voter registration forms, and you can also submit that to the register. It will save, 10 days of mail getting from one end of Fairfax County to the other. But those forms are also in your bag. Okay, one last thing I'm going to mention, because you know, you got to have fun doing this. And I encourage you to have fun. People really pick up on the fact that you're enjoying doing this wonderful civic activity. Sometimes you're going to get a lot of moms in the library in the afternoon, and they might want to talk to you, but their kids are like, Mom, I want to go. So we threw in some little cartoons that are colorable, and in your bag, because we try to think of everything, we have little boxes of crayons. So if you get a kid at the table and mom wants to talk to you, please give them that. It's goodwill and makes people happy. Now, before I take questions, I think I've gotten to the bottom of the bag. I did want to say we are very appreciative of everything that our volunteers are doing. And I sometimes feel it's really hard for us to show you how much we appreciate what you're doing. The last thing I'm going to mention in every bag, and this is because of the kindness and generosity of some of our voter registration team, including Amy Leeson, we have included these brand new, I'm just open the bag, masks. And there are several in every bag. We started doing the bags, I wasn't sure how many volunteers we were going to have. I can't promise that there's enough masks for everyone. These are for you. Thank you for being a volunteer. Thank you, Amy, for your generosity. Some are in suffragist purple, some are black. You can fight over that. Don't fight. It's a library. You got to be quiet. But if you somehow did not get a mask and you're the second shift and the other guys already took them, let me know. We will do our best to get you a mask before, you know, the election or before the next election, because there's always an election. It's Virginia. But this is our way of saying thank you to you all, and I hope you enjoy it. I have one of these purple vote masks, and I wear it when I'm wearing my league shirt because they match really nicely. We want to be color coordinated, but that's just our way of saying thank you. And with that, I am going to stop. Thank you for your attention. Thank you for attending. And we are open to questions. I'm going to do the ones in the chat first, and then everybody else can just do a little raise hand function. And I will try to get to everybody before this is over. Okay, so Sydney said that the handout on the election security was approved at the state level because it's based on our 2-year study of the election process. Sydney did amazing work on this, and we are all in her debt. Good, okay. How do we change of address? Okay, so if you've got someone who needs to change their address, it's the same as the voter registration form. They have to fill out the form. They can do it online if they go to elections.virginia.gov. Okay, so the two important, well, I'll give you 3 important websites to remember. They're burned into my memory. Elections.virginia.gov for returning citizens, people who have previously lost their rights because of incarceration, who want to get their rights restored, and you want to help them. It's a wonderful thing to do. Restore.virginia.gov. So it's easy. Elections, restore, virginia.gov, both. The other important website to remember is vote411.org, because that's the League's website. And we can then track the, you know, people that the League is sending to the state, and that's very helpful. Let's see. Amy, why don't you take everybody off mute? Yes, okay, bringing the bags back. Thank you. Thank you, Joan Lowy, for reminding me. So there are 2 tasks we're asking of you. This is why we're bribing you with these nice masks, because, you know, you'll do anything now that we've given you these nice masks, right? We need you to coordinate with me, or on your own, return the completed voter registration forms to the government center. That's issue note. That's the most important thing. Everything after that is secondary. But eventually, we would love all our materials back because we hope to use them again. The bags. I really would love you to remember to bring your signs, the register to vote here signs, the tablecloths. I don't care about the pens. We can replace those. The masks are yours to keep, but everything else at some point. So just bundle everything up, put it in the bag, keep the voter registration form separate. Everything else goes in the bag. And at some point, please bring that back to the Packard Center. You can just put it on the table. I will have a sign-in sheet for bags that are being returned, so I know who to come nagging afterwards if somebody hasn't gotten to it yet. but we really do need you at some point. There is no rush for that. Okay. It's going to be, that's secondary. Let's see. Okay. That was Joan. Don, I will double check. I'm going to make sure that everybody has their materials, but I'm pretty sure Ann has already said that she would pick up for Richard Byrd. Otherwise, Don, I will get it to you because I feel like I'm seeing you all the time, at one or another voter registration.
Well, I can go pick it up as well, so I just want to make sure I don't make a wasted trip if she has it already.
Oh, if you're, okay, I'll coordinate with you.
Yeah, just let me know and I can go pick it up.
Okay, good. Okay. All right. Show of hands. Anybody questions? What did I miss? Okay, Diana White, yes.
I don't see the poster. Everything that you mentioned is in the bag, but no poster.
You're right, and there's a reason for that. It's because for a while to get these, we did the bags before I could get all of these together. They're going to be at the library. The librarians will have those for you, and then they'll probably be on the table when you get there. So they're going to be delivered through. This is why we were so incredible. Christina Jones, whose name I could not remember earlier. Christina Jones is the Fairfax County Public Library person who has just been terrific, and they're going to have them there. You will have that sign, I promise you.
Okay.
Good. Go.
Good enough. Thanks.
Okay, Sydney.
We were asked at a table who was running. They didn't know the names of the candidates.
Oh.
And I have a list that my colleagues drew up, which I can email to you if you want.
Better than that. Better than that.
Okay.
And thank you for reminding me. This is why this is so helpful, because it's not in your bag, because they only came from the printer this afternoon, but we have what's on the ballot.
Oh.
I know, exactly.
That's great.
What's on the ballot was delivered today. Guess how you're going to get them? Our friends at the Fairfax County Public Library will have them for you. So they have them anyway at all of the branches, and the district supervisors will have them. It was a little more complex this year getting them out, but when you get to the library, you will have from the librarian this sign and a bunch of what's on the ballot. So if people don't know who's running for the state delegate, and let's face it, a lot of people don't. If they know which district they live in, they can look it up. If they don't know which district they live in, they can go to vote411.org and put in that information, and they'll get that. Okay, did that answer that question? Yes, Pat, I see you waving your hand. I'm coming.
I was just going to say, if you want to look up what's on the ballot, it's already posted on our website. If you go to the website, go under publications, you'll see what's on the ballot.
Oh,
so if you want a heads up early before you get there, you can see it.
Okay, that's
Or
very
print
good.
one out for yourself.
Yeah, it is helpful. I think, if you're at a library, it probably wouldn't be a bad idea, now that I think of it, to know, well, so many district lines though are, we have so many different districts here. But yeah, it's probably good to know, at least, in the library, what the surrounding districts are. But thank you, that's a good point. And you will have Wi-Fi access in the library. I'm pretty sure they all have Wi-Fi. It may not be the fastest Wi-Fi, but I use my cell phone all the time. At an event, people say, oh, I need, or I can't remember some detail about the appropriate election process rule. I just go online, just use, obviously, you want to use the State Department, Virginia, elections.virginia.gov. You can use Fairfax County spelled out, fairfaxcounty.gov/elections, which will have a lot more specific information. So use your phone, use the tools you have at hand. We try to give you most of them. We figure you got your own phone. So let's see, other questions. Donna Blake has a question.
This may not be relevant. I was wondering about just printing the websites out, the 3 websites you called out, or 4 out in Fairfax County, on a 8.5 by 11 piece of paper, propping that up so people can take a snapshot of it with their cell phone. A lot of people don't want to sit there and thumb it in or write it down, and they just say, can I take a picture?
Sure, we can do that, but I can tell you that virtually all of those websites are on almost every piece of.
Okay, if that's fine then. I just have been there before with somebody I'm handing out, And
Yeah,
I'm
no.
sitting there spelling out and you waste a lot of time doing that.
No, I get it. And what I can do, because I right now cannot easily get you all an 8x11 piece of paper, but I can send you all in an email all of those important things to remember, and then you can print it up at home and bring it with
That would
you.
be great.
Okay. All right. Other questions? Natalie.
Yes,
I
I had a question. I already got my absentee ballot and I'm already done, which is great. But I did notice something funny about it, and I don't know if this is going to be a question people would ask us. And that is that all the candidates of one party were the first choice to pick. And I wondered, I thought they were supposed to be kind of randomized throughout the county, but do you happen to know what the right answer is in case I get asked that? Because it does seem suspicious.
I know there is a process by which that is determined, and it has, nothing to do with anything. I don't know whether it's a draw or something like that, but that is, as far as I know, and I've been voting in for 40 years, it is always done in that order. Maggie Luca, who was a former head, the goddess of the electoral board at some point, she'll know that. Maggie, can you speak up to that question?
Yes, the parties that choose out of a hat or flip a coin. That's how they determine who's first.
Right.
So somebody
Did you get that?
Somebody picked all 4 positions. It was going to be one party.
Did you hear me?
Yeah, we got you, Maggie. No, right. It's like, okay, so this year, the Republicans win the coin toss, all the Republicans. I think it's actually more confusing, frankly, if you are mixing up the order.
Okay.
So, but one other thing I will mention, because there has been some confusion about this, for the vote by mail ballot this year. It used to be a complicated 3-envelope system. Fairfax has gone to a 2-envelope. You get the thing it's mailed in, and you get a return envelope. So if people say, well, I'm supposed to have 3 envelopes, they are putting instructions into each of the mail and things. But, my experience is, people want to read. They're not going to read the instructions, but that is legitimate. It's only 2 envelopes this year. And the other thing that is important for people to know, and I'm stressing this particularly when we do some of the senior citizen homes and stuff like that, because the state of emergency is not in effect right now, we still have a witness signature requirement in Virginia for this election. Hopefully that's going to go away. The league is lobbying for that. But if somebody gets a mail ballot application, tell them, follow the instructions carefully. You'll need a witness signature.
There's something I didn't like about the fact that it's only 1 envelope is now all of our personal information is there on the outside that goes in the mailbox that anybody can pick up and read. So I think that's too bad.
Yeah, they did have some discussion about it. But what personal information besides your signature is on the back of the envelope?
Oh, my address and my name, and so it's everything about me. It's just too bad, from a privacy standpoint. So I think I might just drop mine in the drop box when I'm by Government Center instead of putting it in the mail. But I think people might be concerned about that, so we all just need to be aware that all of your stuff is hanging out there.
Right. So, and there are drop boxes at every one of the early voting sites, at the 3 that are currently open, at the 13 that will open later on. Although I can tell you that they may not be outdoors. So you might actually have to go into the building to drop your mail-in ballot into the drop box. I'm going to mention one other thing about that, because there has been confusion about that in the past. And that is that it is absolutely legal for, say, if there are multiple people living in a household, they're all voting by mail, but they all want to put their envelope into the drop box instead of putting it in the mail. You can take, if someone gives you their ballot to put in a drop box, you are allowed to do that. And there is no restrictions on who is allowed to put someone else's mail-in ballot into a drop box. You cannot go into the registrars and drop off somebody else's ballot, but you can drop off because it's considered the same as a mailbox. So, you know, so it's, and in the past it's been like, oh, each individual has to go to that drop box and drop it off. That is not the case. And we got very, very clear instructions on that from the registrar of voters. Okay, we are coming up, or in a minute, we're at an hour. Other questions? Okay, thank you, Pat. Excellent. Okay, 2 questions I see here. Pat Feggy, and this is really key to know, if you've not yet picked up your bag and you are the person who's agreed, and I've asked everybody to please, someone to assume the responsibility for picking up the bag or dropping it off, the offices are open from, it's actually Tuesday through Saturday.
Or was it Saturday?
Yeah, Tuesday through Saturday, and it's 10 till 4:30. So don't go there on a Sunday or a Monday, or you'll be really sadly surprised. And if you have to pick up the bag, if you're the person picking it up, please do not wait and go on Monday, because that's not going to work. Let's see. Yes, there is a room number at the Government Center, Joan. The room number is on the folder that we have given you for where you're going to collect. It's right on there. And Maggie will know this, but it's Suite 323. It's actually only 1 flight up, because when you go in the main entrance, you're already on the 2nd floor. Kelly asked, is there something special to know about Fairfax City versus Fairfax County? That's a really good point, actually, now that you mention that, because I just realized that Fairfax City has a separate voting jurisdiction. Pat's making, can you pick up Pat and making faces?
Fairfax, if you can still take them back to the Government Center, because they will, any of the registration forms or materials that they receive, if they need to go to Fairfax City, they will make sure that they get them over there. So that's not a problem.
Right. And actually my favorite little cheat sheet for information, which I can't find because these are now all on my kitchen counter, but that one I showed you first, that has the border around it, a quick reference guide, that's a bilingual thing, that has Fairfax City information on it. And fortunate for us, the Facts for Voters is also got Fairfax City information. The only thing that would not apply for Fairfax City is going to be this, which has early voting information for Fairfax County. I can tell you the registrar's office in Fairfax City is where you will do your early voting from now until October 30th. I just am not sure of the hours. So if you're working at Fairfax City Library, good thinking there, you might want to double check that information. Sorry, that one slipped by me. So thank you for bringing it.
And the thing is that people often don't know, because when I lived in, I had a mailing address of Falls Church, but I actually really lived in Fairfax County. So you can't, it's sometimes hard to determine, and people don't know that.
Same thing for Alexandria. There's a huge part of Fairfax County that's got Alexandria addresses like mine. And people, you know, in Alexandria City see, okay, well, people from Alexandria are voting in Fairfax County, and then they show up. And it's like, not. You need to know which jurisdiction. That's true too of, you know, Falls Church, Alexandria. There's one other area where that becomes tricky. Any other questions that we haven't answered, because we are pretty much out of time? I want to thank you all for participating, for paying such good, careful attention, for volunteering. Thanks. I mean, and if you have fun, which I really hope you do, because this is like, this is my idea of a great time, is getting people registered to vote. Please consider signing up for any number of our other events that we have going on. We're doing a big outreach to senior residences, where people really need our help with making sure they're registered appropriately. We are always looking for volunteers, and now you're really super duper trained, so you're ready to go. And we will always appreciate your help. Thanks again to Amy for being our Zoom mistress, to Sydney for helping us develop stuff, and to all of you. My phone number will be on every email you get. Keep it with you in your cell phone. If you have any questions during the process, during the event, pick up the phone and call me. I mean, it's a library and I'll try to speak quietly, but it's okay. I will be working at Sherwood Hall Library, but I'm really glad to answer whatever questions. Thank you all very much.
Yeah, and thank you, Irina, for being the powerhouse behind this. Thank you so much.
And I just have one more thing to say. If you want to buy a t-shirt, we still have t-shirts available for sale in the office. You can email Irina and she can send it to me, and we will arrange to sell you a shirt.
Thank you all.